Hey everybody, what is up? It is Stephanie once again, and today we are going to be doing a little bit of kit bashing on the new Jump Pack Captain from Games Workshop. Alright guys, so you know the drill. Games Workshop sent me quite a few of the new Space Marines, and while these sculpts are exquisite and very well done as usual, they are very samey. And when painting a Space Marine army, it can get repetitive very, very quickly. And this is actually one of the reasons that I chose Space Wolves as my chapter, because there's so many ways to customize them and they just have like the best specialized units. Like, this isn't open for debate. I mean, we could argue about it in the comments if you want, but it's basically a fact that Space Wolves just have the most options and the coolest options. So I'm really trying to capitalize on that and make my Space Wolf army as wolfy as possible. Our subject today is the new Jump Pack Captain that was recently released. I've been working on him for about a week now, and I'm really excited to show you the end result. So if you're interested in the painting process, I also did film myself painting his armor, and I do have a Space Wolf armor tutorial on my channel already. Quite a few things have changed since that video, so I thought I would make an updated one. So stay tuned for that, because I will be focusing on that as well in one of my next videos. But for now, let's start building this guy. So the first thing that I always do is build the model as usual, but only build it to about 70% completion. So I leave off the head and the arms usually. I will glue him with a little bit of super glue to his base, but only a little bit so that it's easy to pop him off, refinish his base later, and then put him back on. And then that's just the easiest way for me. So when he's about 70% built, I start shaving off all of the little adornments and decorations on his armor. And the reason for that is I don't like painting them. I don't like the look of them. They're just a little bit too generic for me, and they just scream, I'm an Ultramarine, which is obviously not the vibe, you know? No offense, by the way. Just for me, like, if there are any details that I'm going to be painting, I want them to be wolfy, right? So I go ahead and shave these off. At first I use clippers to get the big chunks off, and then I will go in with my hobby knife before finally like using my file to really smooth them out so that they're not all textured later on when we're painting them. So this is where the fun part begins. So for this guy, I got my bits from a couple different places. The first resource that I would suggest you exhaust is old kits. Those old gray hunter kits and wolfen kits and things like that specifically come with so many extra pieces, extra pelts, extra wolf tails, little wolf skulls that you can add on to different places. Like, they're fantastic. This specific guy, I knew I wanted to give him double claws, and I don't actually think that that's legal, but again, don't really care. We always go with the rule of cool, of course. I gave him double claws, and I got both of these claws from an old gray hunter's kit. Now, these are obviously not to scale, because Grey Hunters, the original kit, is regular Space Marines, not Primary Space Marines, but I feel like because the claws are oversized and you have the whole ambiguity of the shoulder pads, and since the arms are bent, I didn't think the scale creep was much of a problem, and I didn't think that they looked out of place. I was originally going to glue them on like this, but it looked very much like he was cranking that Soldier Boy or in the middle of doing Thriller, so I decided I had to shave off this little holster thingy that he had below so that I could rearrange the arms in a way that looked more natural and more serious. After exhausting old kits, the next place to turn to is third-party manufacturers, and my absolute favorite by far is Grey Tide Studio. They have a Primal Hounds campaign that is actually live now, so you will be able to get these bits, whether it be through the form of an STL or you're purchasing actual physical bits. These are some of my favorite. I've been using their stuff for a while now because they were very kind to send me a lot of stuff pre-release, and now that the actual campaign is coming out, I can go on and be a little bit more picky choosy about which things I want to include. But their range is very extensive. They have everything from heads to their own claws to pelts to dreadnought kits recently. I'm going to show you what they sent me, and then I'm going to show you the loadout that I chose for this specific guy. At the end, I actually chose one of the Primal Hound's heads, but then at the end I decided to keep the head that he came with because I feel like I had changed literally everything about him and I did want to preserve some of the original look of him, but I have used all of their bear heads on my regular squads of intercessors. So this big smoke effect here is from Deadly Print Studio, and they are not sponsoring this video, by the way. I actually bought this in the form of an STL. It came with a few different ones, and this is the one that I like the most. And these are actually sized for inceptors, so I did have to rework the shape of it a little bit, shave off some parts, and then go over those parts with milliput. Now, if you're doing something like this, I really recommend milliput rather than something harder like green stuff, because milliput is very, very soft and it's easy to manipulate. So you just add a little bit of water to it and then mold it over the shape of the smoke, and it just fits along those curves perfectly and dries pretty quickly as well. So this actually only took me a couple minutes and then a few hours for it to fully dry before I then primed it. I was still a little bit unsure if I was actually going to use the smoke effect because it's a very intense thing. It's quite a commitment, I feel like, and I wasn't sure if I wanted that. I definitely think they look cool on other people's armies, but for mine, I was just a little bit hesitant. But once I held it up, I decided that I really did like it and that I wanted to use it. I wouldn't necessarily use this for a whole unit because for me, I personally just feel like less is more when it comes to this kind of thing. So because this is our captain, I decided to just go ham and use the smoke effect. If you are interested in how I painted the smoke effects, I am actually working on a Patreon exclusive tutorial on that. That includes the way that I painted it, and this is airbrush free, by the way. How I painted it, as well as how to cast the OSL on the back of the painted model for the overall contributing effects of this amazing jetpack. So yeah, I will go ahead and link my Patreon below if you're interested in that. This will be out in October. So this was the final look of him. I'm going to go ahead and just show a little bit of a process on painting. And like I said, there will be a more detailed video on how I painted this blue armor coming out in about a week or so if I can get my life together. My kid has brought home a lot of sickness from kindergarten, so video production has slowed quite a bit. But I was excited to just put this short one out, and I hope that you stay tuned for my next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.